special, if they call, make a request, and we can understand if they need to meet, and we can isolate it, but generally, no, just the front door to come in and pay the taxes.
Yeah.
We're up to date. Probably almost ahead of last year. People did not because of the option we chose.
6:59.
That's right, that's good.
You got 30 seconds.
Very little activity going on there. We'll try to keep it that way, really.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's Monday, August 3rd, 2020. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. We're going to start with our call to order. The first people I will say are here on Zoom are Candace Bouchard and Linda Grappo. They're both attending by the Zoom. So we'll start with Todd, please.
Todd Arshalashi.
Melissa Bird.
Bob Geiger.
Candy Perez.
Jack Bork. Stephen Sedlak.
Sheila Sedlak.
Okay, great.
Sorry, Sheila.
May we have a pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry, Candy, did you say they're on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
Item 3 is agenda review. Anyone? Item 4 is approval of our regular minutes on July 20th, 2020. May I have a motion to approve? Candace, thank you. Second, please. Todd, thank you. Any corrections or anything for Sheila on it? If not, all in favor? Linda, what's your vote? Yes, okay, so unanimous. All right, next up is the town manager's report. Bob?
All right, as usual, let me just preface by saying during this whole COVID crisis, I meet every morning with the police chief just to review everything that occurred the previous day. And most days I meet right after that with Public Works, usually early in the morning around 7:15 before they get going, so I can talk to our town engineer and our director, Jimmy Rollins, because we've got so many things going on right now and trying to coordinate with, as you've seen on Main Street, with the traffic light implementation, with the state, and with Eversource in terms of replacing all the gas lines in town. It's breaking my heart, but we're starting to cut up pieces of our newly paved Main Street. We're trying to minimize that, but there is so much work to be done as we're still catching up, and the state is, as well as Eversource. So I'll just start off Monday, the week of July 20th. I met with the police chief regarding police action at Highland Lake. We've been struggling because of the COVID situation and people feeling isolated. The lake seems to be more crowded than usual. There are a lot of people, a lot of boats, and people want to get out. And so we've increased some of the police patrol on the weekends to try to assist where necessary or deal with the congestion. As same as on the lake, the same way we've had issues. I also met beginning of the week with Public Works regarding our roads and the capital projects which are underway right now. A lot of capital projects you don't see necessarily because they're not ready for another year or two, but the work begins in terms of the bridges that have to be replaced. The paperwork and administrative detail and coordination occurs. We probably have 2 or 3 major projects that won't even occur for another 18 months, such as the bridges. But there's a lot of work involved in doing that and a lot of coordination. And then, of course, we had that was our last Selectmen's meeting that Monday. Tuesday, I talked about the Public Works regarding our Selectmen's comments. Usually when we finish this meeting, I take notes and make comments and follow up with the appropriate departments. I then had a teleconference with the DEEP with the Parks Commission relative to our lake and some of our issues on the state property surrounding the lake up at Third Bay particularly. Follow up on that, we had more meetings, but we did have our first teleconference on Tuesday. I met with our library. I am still the vice president of the library. And regarding COVID issues and masks and proper spacing as people utilize our library stayed very busy through the COVID crisis, mostly for book pickups outside of the building, but the building is open now with selective spacing. I also met with Selectman Grappo as she's representative for some of our senior apartments as we progress in terms of we've got 4 different senior apartments right behind Town Hall. They're all 4 structured a little differently and from time to time require different financial assessment and just general management assessment. And Linda's been very active in maintaining contact and awareness about what's going on there. So I'll probably be sharing more information and more conversation with her about that. Wednesday, I had a lot of telephone conferences with various people, Representative Jay Case, our finance director, our school superintendent, regarding the bond commission. There was an unfortunate article in one of the newspapers reporting that we had received funding which we had not received. So I don't think it wasn't anyone's fault in particular. I think there was some misleading information at one of the more complex bonding meetings out of Hartford, and I think everyone did their best, but I think the newspaper got it wrong, and she worked very hard to try to correct that. So we had a lot of conversation verifying what the actual facts were that day. I also met with David Berto. He's a senior apartments consultant and has been for years for our senior apartments. And I've been working with him as we work on refinancing or complete the financing of one of our 15-year-old apartment complexes. Thursday, we had food pickup for distribution. We've got food is usually dropped off in Torrington, and either myself and others, we pick up various containers of food for distribution to people who need it. That's been going on for, I don't know, a few months now, Candy, I think.
Yes, Sarah Loretti and Pam Carrington.
Pam Carrington.
Jen from the Senior Center, myself, worked with Friendly Hands to get it to come here.
Okay, so that's been something very good for our community. I think the last one was Thursday. I think we've got another one coming up.
This Thursday.
This Thursday again, the last one this Thursday. I also met with the Civil Service Commission via a Zoom meeting. Friday, I met with a resident regarding building a new home. Sometimes there's a little confusion over construction in terms of the location and the different requirements, but usually Pam down in our land use office does a pretty good job following up with the detail, but every once in a while they feel like they need to speak with someone. I also had another conference call with our environmental attorneys in Hartford regarding the solar project as we try to come to conclusion with a contract that we think is in the best interest of the town. We have yet to do that. We're just about completed, and that will be available for public review when anyone would like to see that. Sunday, I had a meeting with residents at Highland Lake up on the northern part of the lake, or the southern part of the lake, Third Bay, discussing issues that they have and with the lake in general in terms of the overall, from beach to beach, from Holland to Risha Beach, because as I said, it's certainly been crowded. This week, I met with Steve Williams regarding staffing concerns as we continue to try to protect the building from any potential virus that could occur. As you all know, that Connecticut's doing pretty well. Litchfield County's doing very well, but it's only doing well because we're all taking precautions to keep it that way. So we continue to monitor the building and the town for issues. And Steve Williams has done a great job as our emergency response manager, coordinating with his counterpart in the state. Tuesday, I met with Tanya regarding the water quality testing we had at the lake. there appeared to have been some algae developed on one of the beaches, and it turns out, according to our limnologist and according to the Torrington Area Health, it's something that occasionally occurs. It's not a harmful algae growth, but it occurs when we have very little rainfall and excessively warm weather that has since dissipated. I also met with our finance director regarding staffing concerns through the summer. As you know, we've issued tax bills, and as we try to struggle with vacations, we're not very heavily staffed in the town hall, and vacation season frequently leaves us a little short-staffed, so we have to scramble. I had a teleconference with two of our other reporters regarding town activities as they do what reporters do, looking for news. We sometimes talk, and I try to use them to our benefit to communicate with the public as much as possible. I went to a site visit to review the road markings on Main Street. As we try to understand everything that the state is doing, I think the state tries to coordinate with us, but occasionally we'll see markings on the street which were unknown to us, so we kind of monitor what the state's doing to make sure we understand and it doesn't conflict with some of the things we're in the process of doing. Wednesday, I met with, I guess really two, I remember it was two people regarding the issue at the assessor's office. People come in right after their tax bill is issued and sometimes question the assessment of their property. And it usually requires some conversation to make sure everything is okay. But I think it's important that we're available to residents to listen to any issue they might have with the tax bill. By the way, the taxes have been coming in. We want to thank everybody for that in a pretty timely manner. We had anticipated a significant slowdown, but as you know, the option we chose, I think appealed to most people, and most people we're almost at the same level we were last year on tax collections at this time. So we're very pleased that that is occurring. I also met with the school superintendent regarding updates. As you know, there's issues all over the country on school openings and how it's going to be done. And I'm leaving it up to Melanie to communicate that with the public. It's a complicated issue. You know, both Gilbert and our school system are working hard to try to make sure they come up with a plan that makes sense to the public. But every day, all you have to do is listen to the news or read the papers, and I don't think anyone's got a fixed plan yet, and we're getting ready to respond once we start to see if we have to make modifications. Again, I met with our finance director on Thursday. And then also I had called the state to ask if they could come up and help us assess our situation at the lake in Suckerbrook. I wanted to make sure they knew or were aware. As you know, we had some problems with erosion control at Suckerbrook for a failure of a drainage system which fed into the lake, and also the general overcrowding of the lake, and particularly the state property beside the lake. So Mike Lambert, who is the state, I don't know his exact title, I should know that, but he's in charge of all the state parks in the state of Connecticut. He and I talked on the phone earlier in the week, or the prior week, and there are 136 state parks he's responsible for. He came up, and we got in my pickup truck, and we drove around and stopped and chatted for about 2 hours about things that we could be doing to improve the situation. And it was his first time to become familiar with Winstead and the surrounding area. We had, I think, some interesting conversation. It was learning for both of us. And he's sending his staff engineer out to speak with us next week to kind of evaluate some of the things we have so that they're completely familiar. I think he was kind of stunned when he realized how many residents we have at our lake and the issues that leads with in trying to maintain control during a season that's been very, very busy. On Friday, I met with Public Works again. I usually try to conclude the week with them because I usually come up on Saturdays and Sundays occasionally to drive around. If you may have noticed, we've almost completed what we thought was going to be a small project on the walkway at the spillway at the lake. As we proceeded to try to fix some of the guardrail, we realized it was all shot. It was one of those, you peeling back the onion, you take down one guardrail, you realize the bases are bad, you tear up the base, you realize the attachments to the base are bad, so we are completely rebuilding it. It's It's almost completed. The hard part is done now. If you ever happen to drive by there, we hope to have that completed by next week, but it turned out to be a major project instead of a minor project. Okay, those are the general conversations we've had this week. Any questions, comments?
Could you elaborate a bit on the bonding situation and the Hinsdale project? Where are we right now?
We're actually where we kind of thought we were originally, I think, which as we've applied to the state, it was around September that we anticipated being evaluated on this next list. When the governor spoke at the last bonding, it was the completion, the $200 million of completion of prior projects that were on the bond. So we're on the next list, which is we anticipated where we would be, so it's still up. The timing is still unknown with the state as they're trying to work out when they're going to meet for their next bonding assessment, and we'll be on that list. But the evaluation of the list itself should be completed by the state. We were told a couple of months ago in September, so we were totally surprised when we read that we had received the money because we didn't think we were supposed to yet, and we weren't. So is what we've done. We had set aside money originally. The process before you apply for the bond, you really, our construction would be underway before we actually did that, but it takes 3 to 4 months of architectural drawings, which we are just now completing. That cost about $240,000. The architectural drawings, once they're complete, then go out to bid, so contractors can then take that package and assess how much it's going to cost and how much time is required and get back to us with a price. So that usually takes a few more months. So as you can see, we're not even close to ready to talk about constructing anything. We're just trying to get the paperwork done originally through the architectural presentations so that we can be ready to move when it's time. So there's almost 6 to 7 months of planning before you even start to dig.
And the building committee is still actively meeting, I assume?
Yes, they are. They're actively meeting. It's public forum. The notes are pretty comprehensive, and everything is on the website for anyone who wants to review them or see what's going on.
Good, thanks.
Yep.
I see that they're making an incredible amount of progress on the health center.
Yes.
Are they still on?
They're still on track. They're telling me, well, I've noticed since they've started, they've slipped about a month or two. They're now down to shooting for the 1st of November for opening, but they're going rather rapidly. So I'll be meeting with the owners of the building. As you know, the hospital doesn't own that, they lease that. So I'm speaking to the owner who will be leasing it to them probably in 2 weeks to discuss final taxation arrangements.
I have a couple things, mostly around the lake. One, just for people's knowledge, as Bob was talking about, down at the Risha Beach was closed because of the algae, and it's because of the humidity, the heat and the warm waters, and the lake's not moving very much because, the lake's not going over the spillways. So a longtime resident that's up there that actually chaired our water level commission, and she's really followed the lake for most of her life up there, wanted me to make sure that people understood how the water quality is monitored up there, and that what people can do to help out. So the Torrington Area Health monitors the beaches in the summer for E. coli. Last year, if you remember, we had one beach shut down for a week because the numbers went high, but it's usually between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So while algae doesn't fall into the E. coli thing, the Torrington Area Health does monitor the beaches, and whenever we need an extra test like that last week, Tanya or Bob can call them and ask them to come up and just check that for general health. The Lake Association, Highland Lake Watershed Association, in partnership with the town of Winchester, does extensive water quality data like nitrogen, phosphorus, the dissolved oxygen at the bottom, etc. And they volunteers take water samples throughout the year, and that has expanded over the past couple of years to make sure that we get water samples in November and April through George Knockline's firm NEAR to make sure that the long-term effects on the lake are being looked into. they're actually going to be doing a report, an analysis of what's happening by looking at the bottom of the lake, because the milfoil was almost non-existent this year. So they're going to look at the nitrogen down below. They're going to look at dissolved oxygen, because that's always been a concern of what's happening at the lake. And they're going to look at, they're going to start looking at the watershed area as well, which brings me to my second point. So citizens, how citizens can help is you need to stop the runoff on your properties, because the lake is like a bathtub. Whatever comes off the properties, whatever comes off the road, when anybody throws or leaves trash at the beaches, or the dogs that they don't pick up after, or anything that's coming off of boats, or at Taylor Brook Park where there's been, people have seen diapers and messes down there, all that will end up in the lake, and that will affect the water quality. We've been very fortunate that we haven't had a big effect, and I hope that when we get tomorrow's rain, the good thing about tomorrow's rain, it will let the spillways run over, because when the spillways run over, we have moving water, it clears off the top a little bit. But with tomorrow's water, I am concerned, Bob, and I talked to you about this and sent Jimmy a couple weeks ago. I'm concerned about, at least there's 3 areas that tomorrow when the rains come, there's going to be a massive amount of movement of sediment through our non-catch basin, new non-catch pipes into the lake, or somebody that doesn't have a driveway in the southern end of the lake that always runs off, always runs across the street. And I know they cleaned out some of the tops of the basins today, probably in anticipation of that. But when can we start a drainage study for the lake? I know I got some information from the Lake Association in terms of the state might have some grants on it. We know that our GIS mapping has where all the little basins are, but we know that there's still continuing issues at Sucker Brook from up above on Dayton Road. I've been up there a couple times. Forest Avenue, down in the southern little cove of the lake. I'm not sure if Vaughn's Lane, the runoff up there, and that drainage coming off there has been taken care of. But, you know, we're having this, you know, the water quality stuff going on, and I know that I watch it pour in right next to us all the time, and where the little kids are swimming with things, and we have those concerns. So when can we start that, you think?
We've investigated already the engineering firms that would do that. I don't have a date for you, but I know it's urgent. I've also asked the Mike Lambert at the state for some possible help in evaluating the runoff as well. So I was hoping his engineer was going to be part of our questioning when he comes up. But I think in the next day or two, I agree with you, the best time to see this, to figure out what's going on, is to go out in the pouring down rain and watch it. That's still right before I came tonight, I just cleaned out all the gutters in my house, so I think we'd like for the same concern, so we'll go see what it looks like. But I've seen the pictures you've taken, we've taken some of our own, and I'm really concerned about the recently finished project at Sucker Brook to see how well that's going to hold up.
So part of that too is our upstream part of that as well.
Yep, so I don't have a date, but I just took
George
notes to
Knockline
get you
is supposed to look at some of that too, so it would be good to coordinate with him, because
Oh,
we're
we
paying
will.
him to do it, so we might as well
Yep.
get everybody. And then if the state has some money for drainage, the study, not so much the repairs.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess because, you know, the lake, everybody, you know, was worried when we were talking about the parking at the lake and stuff like that. But the water, I think everybody really needs to, you know, residents, non-residents, really need to look at the water quality and what's happening. And because we haven't had rain, the lake's been pretty clear. And the milfoil's gone, and the lake weeds are starting to grow up. So I guess this will continue to be my thing for.
Just one other little thing, I understand that. It's not only yours, a lot of people have got the same concern. One of the issues that came up was the number of geese. We seem to have more geese in the lake than we've ever had, and they are not helpful at all either. So the state has a program in terms of geese reduction, which we're going to be looking at as well. Because they don't seem to be migrating. They're hanging around.
Bob, you didn't mention in your report anything new on the fire chief?
Yes, I had an interview today with the potential candidate. potential, we're evaluating a contract. We did that. We've been doing that for the past week. I think we have a final. I've got a couple more questions today. I met with David Sartriana. I've met with our labor attorney over it. I think we would hope to have something concluded within the next few weeks in terms of all the administration and paperwork, and we'll be coming back to you with that then.
And the social service?
Social service, we've got about 8 applicants in right now. We haven't conducted any interviews. We know a few of them, but that's in process right now.
You got a figure date on hiring on that one? Still looking September,
Yeah, this is,
October?
I would hope we'd have something by the end of September.
Candace or Linda, anybody? So Candace or Linda, if you go to live stream, you can hear things. You just won't hear it through Zoom. But you can ask a question if you want. I can hear you.
I don't have a question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, just giving you two the opportunity if you wanted to ask something. Okay, we'll move on to citizens' comments. If anybody would like to call in, 860-738-6958. It's listed on the agenda. The phone's over there. Again, 860-738-6958. In the meantime, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, John Weird, my name's 16 Superior Street. I'm glad you got a little patchwork done on Rockwell Street down below me. And I like the work going on at the spillway. And I got my ballot today. I voted out front. It's painless. Nobody's gonna get hurt. Take your time, vote.
Thank you, John. Linda and Candace, did you hear that? He was happy with Rockwell Street, he's happy with the work up at the spillways, and he was happy with the voting box outside of Town Hall. And nobody's calling 738-6958. We have another section of public comment a little bit down the agenda. So anybody have any correspondence for item 7 that they wanted to bring up? 8 boards and commissions.
Oh, we have no activity at this time?
Did we get an answer yet on, no, okay. Anybody else, boards and commissions? If not, Bob, the refunds as recommended by collector of revenues are every month.
Okay, this list is a short list. This evening, it's only 3 motor vehicle refunds totaling $138. And I move that the Board of Selectmen authorize these as recommended by the Collector of Revenue.
Thank you, Melissa, for the motion. Jack, thank you for the second. Any questions for Bob? Okay, this is for the refunds as recommended by the Collector of Revenue. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. That's the end of our new business. We're back to citizens' comments, 738-6958. John? All right, well, we're waiting to see if anybody wants to call in. Selectmen's comments and reports, anyone? Looking around. Again, call in 738-6958. Okay, my question under Selectmen's comments and reports, we've been doing this hybrid now for the last 2 months. Do we want to stay with hybrid through August into September? Or do we want to just be fully in person? What's the rest of the board want to do? The only drawback to the hybrid is like Candace and Linda, unless they live stream alongside the Zoom, they cannot hear anything from here because this computer is what sends the sound through to the Zoom participants. So they can hear me, but they can't hear you. So we can stay hybrid because I just bring this, or we can go full in person.
I feel like maybe it should stay hybrid for certain people when they travel and things that are going on in my, I mean, I don't mind coming and I don't have an issue with it at all, but I think sometimes people feel more comfortable having the option. But
Yeah, keep going with hybrid.
Okay, well, I just wanted to ask, because, you know, I should check in with you. All right, so we'll stay hybrid. Hearing no comments, anybody else have any comments or reports that they want to make?
I just wanted to remind everyone to take precautions for the storm coming tomorrow, as wind peaks could be 35 to 50 miles an hour, potentially 58 to 73 miles an hour, so secure your property. You know, be prepared for power outages and things of that nature.
Hope it misses, but it doesn't look like it. I just want the water, but not all at once. All right, nothing else, Steve?
Move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Todd. All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, thank you. See you next meeting.
Let's see, severe weather alerts.